Okay, so let's really unpack this. I want you to just picture the setting for a moment.
Right.
Because we aren't talking about, the polished Yellowstone TV show version of Montana.
Oh, definitely not. No perfect hair, no golden hour lighting all the time.
Exactly. We are talking about the high plains, the vast empty stretches of highway where you can just drive for hours, and I mean hours, without seeing another soul.
It's a landscape that is, it's beautiful, no question.
Absolutely.
But it's also just incredibly unforgiving. The geography itself really dictates the rules out there.
Oh, so.
Well, you're dealing with such profound isolation, rough terrain, a community that feels like it's just constantly sitting on a powder keg. It's a place where, response times for emergency services are measured in hours, not minutes. You get into trouble, you're on your own for a while.
Right. It's the perfect backdrop for theft, for betrayal, and for a partnership that is, and I'm being frank here, completely insane. Today, we are doing a deep dive into Big Sky Standoff by B.J. Daniels. Now, if we just look at the cover, you might think, okay, this is a romantic suspense novel.
And you wouldn't be wrong on the surface.
You'd be right, to a point. But when you actually crack the spine and get into the source material, what we found is this fascinating, gritty procedural about modern agricultural crime.
Yeah, and psychological warfare. It's way more complex than just a simple romance.
So much more. And at its heart is a deal with the devil that is just incredibly layered.
What really stands out to me in this text is how Daniels weaves the technicalities of stock detection, which is a very real, very specific type of law enforcement.
Right.
She weaves that with this intense character study. So we aren't just looking at, who stole the cows. We are looking at generational trauma, vengeance.
And this fascinating question of how the prison system changes a man's psychology. What does 4 years in a cage do to a brilliant mind?
Exactly. So let's introduce our key players.
Let's do it. In the blue corner, representing the law, we have Jacklyn Wilde. She's a stock detective.
And we should probably pause there.
Yeah, for those listening who didn't grow up on a ranch, we need to define that, because it's not just a regular sheriff's deputy, is it?
No, not at all. It's a highly specialized role. In many Western states, livestock is the primary economic driver. It's everything.
It's Wall Street, but with cattle.
That's a great way to put it. A stock detective is a sworn peace officer, but their jurisdiction is almost exclusively focused on agricultural crime.
So what does that entail day to day?
They have to be part homicide detective, part veterinarian, and part cowboy. Seriously. They need to know how to read a brand that's been altered with a running iron.
Which is an art form in itself.
A criminal art form, yeah. They need to be able to track stock trailers across miles of dirt roads, figure out where they went, and they need to understand the constantly fluctuating economics of the beef market to know why someone might be stealing.
So Jack is in this high-pressure role. She's very by the book, very tough. But at the start of our story, she is completely terrified.
Because she has a massive problem.
A massive problem. There's a new ring of rustlers hitting her territory. And they are sophisticated.
Yeah.
They're fast. And the law just cannot catch them.
And that desperation, that's what leads her to the red corner.
Dillon Savage.
The name alone, right.
The name alone. Dillon Savage. It sounds like a dime store novel hero, but the character is surprisingly layered.
Oh, fits him perfectly. He is a legendary cattle wrestler, an ex-con, and this is the key part, he's the man Jacklyn Wilde personally put behind bars 4 years ago.
Which is just, wow, the history there.
And here is the hook of the entire narrative. Jack has broken him out.
Well, she got him an early release, which, strictly speaking, sounds like a career-ending move if anyone finds out the real details.
It's a huge ethical breach, a massive one, but it's born of pure necessity. She pulled strings to get him out on a tether because the new rustlers are just too good. They leave no tracks, no witnesses.
So Jack decides to use an old thief to catch the new thieves.
It's the classic takes one to know one trope, but the stakes here are so incredibly high.
For both of them.
Absolutely. If Dillon slips up, even a little, he goes right back to prison. Immediately. And if Jack fails, her career is toast. And, considering the violent nature of the people they are hunting, her life is very much on the line.
So the roadmap for this deep dive is pretty clear. We are going to analyze this unusual suspect, Dillon Savage, and really dig into why he breaks every stereotype of a cowboy criminal.
Then we'll look at the intricate mystery of the stolen cattle, because the methodology here is honestly baffling.
Yeah, it is. We'll break down the web of suspects, including a very powerful, very angry rancher named Shade Waters.
And of course, we have to talk about the undeniable tension between the investigator and her prisoner. It's electric.
It really is. And you mentioned the technicalities. We really need to dig into the forensics of cattle theft because the book does a great job of showing how modern technology and, old school branding kind of collide in this world.
It's fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into the deep end.
Mm.
We have to start by profiling Dillon Savage.
Okay.
The source material opens with this just incredibly cinematic scene of him leaving the Montana State Prison. He's just standing there soaking up the sun.
And that moment is so crucial for understanding his psychology. The text describes him breathing in the morning air, looking at the razor wire behind him for a change.
Yeah.
He's been locked up for 4 years. I mean, can you imagine the sensory deprivation of prison?
The constant noise, the smell of chemicals, the gray concrete.
All of that is contrasted immediately with the Big Sky. He's not just happy to be out. He's almost overwhelmed by the sheer sensation of freedom. It's a physical thing for him.
And then Jack pulls up in the state pickup. The tension is instantaneous.
You can feel it on the page.
He greets her with this cocky grin, tips his hat. Hi, Jack. But there is a very specific detail about his release conditions that I found just fascinating. He isn't wearing an ankle monitor.
No, and that's a really practical plot point that speaks to the realism of the setting.
Why not? Why no ankle monitor?
Well, think about it. An ankle monitor just wouldn't work for this mission. Think about the logistics of ranch work. You're wearing high-topped, stiff leather cowboy boots all day.
All right.
You're riding horses where your legs are constantly rubbing against the stirrup leathers and the animal's flank. You're wading through mud and snow and God knows what else.
It's a physical liability.
A huge one. It could get snagged on a fence. It could break a bone if a horse kicks you there. It's just not practical for the environment they're going into.
So what's the alternative?
So they've implanted a microchip tracker behind his left ear.
Which is so much more invasive when you think about it.
Oh, massively.
It felt a little dystopian to me, like something out of Black Mirror or something.
It is, but it serves a huge narrative purpose. It represents total ownership. An ankle monitor is something you can see, right? Something you can mentally separate yourself from.
That thing on my leg.
Exactly. But a chip inside your skull, that means the state is literally in your head. Jack can track him via satellite anywhere in the state. He can't get away from it.
Never. It symbolizes that even though he's standing in the sun, feeling free, he belongs to the state. And specifically, he belongs to her for the duration of this operation. It's his leash.
And a very short leash at that. But let's talk about Dillon himself. Because when you think cattle rustler or, you hear about agricultural crime on the news, you probably think of some rough and tumble guy, maybe not the sharpest tool in the shed, doing it for quick cash or maybe drug money.
A crime of opportunity or desperation. That's the typical profile.
Right. But Dillon Savage, he completely shatters that stereotype.
And this is where the character study gets really fascinating. The source material reveals that Dillon holds university degrees, and not just one. Plural. He has degrees in engineering, business, and psychology.
Psychology. The cattle rustler has a degree in psychology. That's the one that got me. And engineering. How does a cattle rustler use an engineering degree? Well, think about it. Moving 500 head of cattle silently at night across rugged terrain, that is fundamentally a civil engineering problem.
Huh. I never thought of it like that.
You need to know the load capacities of old wooden bridges. You need to understand the topography of the land for drainage and, more importantly, for noise suppression. How to move a herd through a valley so the sound doesn't carry to the ranch house.
How to build temporary holding pens that won't collapse under the weight of, hundreds of panicked animals.
Exactly. It's all logistics and physics. It's not just, yeehaw, let's go get some cows. It's a military-style operation.
And the business degree, well, that one's obvious. That helps with the money laundering side of things.
For sure. You can steal $1 million worth of cows, but if you can't wash the sale through legitimate auctions without raising 100 red flags, you've got nothing. He understands market supply chains, commodity pricing.
He knows how to make the crime profitable and invisible.
Precisely. But the psychology degree, that's the one that makes him incredibly dangerous to someone like Jack.
Because he can read her. He knows what makes people tick.
He understands human behavior on a deep level. He knows how to manipulate, how to read microexpressions, how to predict patterns of behavior. And the text makes it really clear he didn't start rustling originally for the money.
Right. He came from a ranching family himself. His father was ruined by a neighbor, this guy Shade Waters.
So for Dillon, he viewed rustling as a form of simple math.
I loved that line in the text. He has this argument with Jack later in the truck, and he says rustling is just living off the land. He completely rationalizes it.
He does?
He says something like, if you can make 10 grand in a few minutes with less risk than holding up a convenience store, why wouldn't you?
That's the sociopathic charm at work. He frames crime as simple efficiency, but you peel back that one layer and the text makes it clear it was vengeance.
Pure and simple.
He wasn't stealing to get rich. He was stealing to bleed the people who destroyed his father. He's an ideological criminal, in a way. He justified his actions by dehumanizing his victims, viewing them as just, part of the machine that crushed his family.
And speaking of that charm and manipulation, we have to talk about the motel scene.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of my favorite moments early on because it defied my expectations so completely. They get to Lewistown, they check into the Yogo Inn, and Jack asks him what he wants.
Right.
Now, he's an ex-con. He's been in a cage for 4 years. I expected him to ask for a bottle of whiskey or a woman or a weapon, something illicit.
And instead,
he wants spicy Chinese food and a bubble bath.
A sea scent bubble bath, specifically.
Yeah. He explicitly asked Jack for change for the vending machine so he can go buy his sea scent bubble bath. It's just so unexpected.
It's a brilliant maneuver, and it works on 2 levels. On one hand, yes, it absolutely shows the deprivation of prison. He's missed hot water, he's missed good food, he's missed smelling nice. He mentions that in prison, you only have showers, and that's a dangerous place to be.
So a bath represents safety and luxury.
It does. But on the other hand, consider the psychological angle we just mentioned. His degree. He knows Jack is in the adjoining room listening.
Because the walls are thin and she's monitoring him with a receiver.
Exactly. He knows she's there. He knows she is visualizing him in that tub. He is completely disarming her by being vulnerable. Oh, I just want to bath in some dumplings, while simultaneously introducing this incredibly intimate image into her mind.
It's a power play.
It's a total power play disguised as a simple creature comfort. He is taking control of the entire environment without breaking a single rule of his parole.
And Jack is just sitting next door with her receiver terminal, listening to the water running, trying to eat her sad little salad, and just fume.
It establishes their dynamic perfectly. She's the rigid lawman trying to maintain boundaries, and he's the agent of chaos who is constantly and very cleverly poking at those boundaries.
But it's a focused chaos, because as soon as the food arrives, he switches gears. He looks at her map of the rustling incidents, and all that playfulness just vanishes.
Professional comes out.
Which brings us to the actual crime. Let's look at what they're actually up against. The source material lays out a very specific pattern, or rather, a lack thereof.
Right. And this isn't, a couple of guys with a trailer grabbing a cow here and a cow there.
Yeah.
This is a highly organized ring hitting ranches across a 200-mile area. That is a massive geographical footprint. To coordinate theft on that scale requires serious infrastructure and planning.
And the key detail, they are taking unbranded calves.
That's the key. We need to explain the slick trade to the listeners because it's central to the whole mystery.
Please do. Why is unbranded so important?
Okay, so in ranching terms, a slick is an unbranded animal. In the spring, calves are born, they stay with their mothers for a while. They don't get branded immediately. Usually not until the spring roundup or branding season, which might be a few months later depending on the weather and the ranch's schedule.
So there is this window of vulnerability.
A massive window where the inventory has no permanent ID. It's like a warehouse full of cash with no serial numbers.
Okay.
A calf at that age is worth about $1,000 a head, maybe more. If you steal a grown cow with a brand on its hip, you have to explain that brand at the auction yard. And brand inspectors are everywhere in Montana. They're very serious.
So it's hard to sell a stolen branded animal.
Very hard. But a calf, an unbranded calf, once you separate it from its mother, it's just a generic calf. You can take it to an auction a few counties over, and no one can prove it was stolen from Rancher Smith. That has no identifying marks.
So the rustlers are timing this perfectly. They're hitting these ranches during calving season, grabbing the babies, and just disappearing.
They're essentially printing money. It's untraceable. And the text mentions they leave no tracks. They move fast. They hit the ranches that are the least accessible, the ones far from the main roads.
It's almost like they have inside information on patrol schedules or something.
Which is exactly what Dillon points out almost immediately. He looks at the map and tells Jack, these guys are cowboys.
You're right.
They aren't city criminals trying to figure this out. These are people who can ride horses better at midnight than most people can at noon. They know the land intimately.
But there's one glaring anomaly on that map, isn't there? One ranch that hasn't been hit.
The W Bar.
Owned by Shadewaters, the largest landowner in the entire area. The man Dillon Savage hates most in the world.
Everyone around him is getting robbed blind, but the Baron, as they call him, is completely untouched.
Which naturally makes everyone suspicious. Why is he immune?
Is he paying them off? Is he secretly running the ring himself to bankrupt his neighbors so he can buy their land cheap?
That's the oldest trick in the Western playbook, right?
It is. But things escalate very, very quickly. We move from simple, if large-scale theft, to extreme violence.
Yeah, there's a rancher named Tom Robinson, and he's a holdout. Shadewaters has been buying up all the land around him, but Tom refuses to sell. He's the last one.
And Tom is out riding his fence line one evening, and he stumbles upon them. He interrupts the rustlers in the act. This is a nightmare scenario for any rancher.
He finds a cut fence, he tracks the intruder into the woods, and he confronts him.
And this text describes this harrowing moment where Tom hesitates for just a second because he thinks he recognizes the man, and that hesitation costs him.
He gets struck in the head with a tree limb and is left for dead. He's in a coma.
And this changes the entire game. It's not just larceny anymore, it's attempted murder. If Tom Robinson wakes up, he can identify the rustler. He's the only witness.
But the investigation at the scene yields a very strange, very specific piece of evidence. Sheriff McCrae, and we'll definitely talk more about him in a minute, he gives Jack a good luck piece that was found at the scene.
A gold coin.
It's just a gold coin. And when Jack shows this coin to Dillon, the reaction is just chilling.
Dillon identifies it immediately. He doesn't even have to think. He says a friend of his used to carry one just like it.
And that friend was Halsey Waters.
Shadewaters' son.
Exactly. But here is the massive twist. Halsey Waters is dead. He died years ago in a riding accident.
And Dillon claims, and he seems absolutely sincere here, that he personally put that exact coin in Halsey's suit pocket at the funeral.
So we have a dead man's lucky coin showing up at a fresh crime scene years after he was buried.
It creates this almost gothic mystery layer on top of the Western procedural.
It's completely bizarre. What are the possibilities?
Well, is it a ghost? Is Dillon lying to manipulate Jack and send her down a rabbit hole? Or did someone dig up the grave?
Oh, the one they don't say out loud at first.
Yeah.
Is Halsey Waters not actually dead?
That's the unspoken question hanging in the air, and it clearly rattles the other suspects when Jack brings it up.
Yeah.
Arlen Dubois, one of Dillon's old crew members, turns white as a sheet when he sees it.
So it means something to these people.
It means everything. It suggests that this rustling ring is deeply tied to the past, specifically to the circumstances around the death of Halsey Waters. It's not just about cows, it's about a ghost story that's haunting this entire community.
Which leads them right to the door of the W Bar to confront the family.
The Lion's Den.
Yeah. And we have to talk about Shadewaters. The Baron is the perfect description for him.
He really represents that old-school, ruthless land grabber, the kind of man who believes he is the law because he owns the most dirt.
And he has this deep, bitter feud with Dillon.
A blood feud. Shade blames Dillon for Halsey's death. He claims Dillon was a bad influence who got his son killed on a wild horse.
And Dillon blames Shade for his father's financial ruin and subsequent death.
It's Hatfield and McCoy levels of pure hatred.
But when Jack and Dillon arrive at the ranch, Shade just refuses to cooperate. He won't let them on the property. He won't allow them to install cameras. He's completely obstructive.
But what I found really interesting was the family dynamic that Jack observes on that porch. You have Shade, this imposing, powerful figure. But then you have his surviving son, Nate Waters.
And Nate. Well, Nate does not seem to cut the same figure as his father.
Not at all.
He's described as softer. He's wearing these expensive new Western clothes that look more like a costume than actual workwear.
He looks bored, almost petulant. He clearly wants his father's respect, but can't seem to get it. He's the classic fail son of the Empire.
And clinging to Nate's arm is the X Factor, Morgan Landers.
Oh, Morgan. When she walks out onto that porch, the temperature just drops about 10 degrees.
It really does. She is currently Nate's fiancée, but she used to be Dillon's girlfriend before he went to prison.
And the text describes Dillon's reaction so vividly. His hand clenches into a fist. He's visibly shaken. Morgan is portrayed as this survivor, maybe a bit of a gold digger who is attracted to power and danger.
She liked Dillon when he was the bad boy rustler.
But now that he's an ex-con with no money and no power, she's moved on to the heir of the W Bar empire.
But Dillon suspects there's something darker going on than just a simple breakup. He tells Jack later that he thinks he was set up 4 years ago.
He's convinced of it. He thinks someone tipped off the law to his location the night he was finally caught.
And seeing Morgan there, on the arm of Nate Waters, at the home of the man who hates him most, he starts to wonder if she was the one who sold him out.
It adds this deeply personal layer of betrayal to the investigation. Dillon isn't just trying to catch rustlers to stay out of prison anymore.
No.
Now he's trying to dismantle the entire conspiracy that ruined his life. And Morgan is standing right at the center of that.
Sure.
Is she with Nate because she loves him? Or is she with Nate because she made some kind of deal with Shade Waters to get rid of Dillon?
So the tension is just building and building.
Yeah.
The ranchers are furious that the state isn't protecting your livelihoods. And that boils over in Section 4, the town hall meeting.
And this scene was just pure chaos.
It's a classic Western trope, isn't it? The angry town hall meeting. Shade Waters gets up there and rallies the neighbors. He's whipping them up into a frenzy.
He's basically advocating for vigilante justice. He's calling out Jack's incompetence and the absolute insanity of releasing Dillon Savage to help.
Which, to be fair to Shade, does sound insane to the average citizen.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, everyone. I brought the fox to guard the hen house. Trust me.
It's an impossible sell. And Jack, I have to give her credit. She walks right into the lion's den. And she brings Dillon with her. The crowd goes nuts. Her boss, this guy Stratton, tries to take over and gives this bland, bureaucratic speech about working together and checking backgrounds.
And the ranchers are having none of it. They want blood. They want action.
And then Jack does something awesome. She physically kicks over the podium.
Boom. It's such a great physical action. It just silences the entire room.
And she delivers the hard truth. She says something like, if nobody is watching your cattle tonight, they are being stolen from you right now. She basically tells them that without their cooperation, they are completely helpless.
It buys her a little bit of respect, a moment of quiet, but the mood is still incredibly ugly.
So they retreat to a steakhouse to decompress. And this is where we get another really interesting glimpse into Dillon's skills. They play a game.
The coin toss for the truth.
Yeah.
The scene is so pivotal. Dillon wins the toss, so he has to tell Jack a truth, a real one.
And he reveals that at the steakhouse, just a few minutes before, he saw someone leaving out the back door. Someone who moved in a very specific way.
A way that was exactly like the dead Halsey Waters.
Again, with the ghost of Halsey. this recurring phantom in the story.
It reinforces the idea that Halsey might not be dead, or perhaps more likely someone is intentionally impersonating him to mess with Dillon's head, to keep him off balance.
But then the scene takes a really sharp turn. Morgan walks in with Nate, and Dillon excuses himself, says he's going to the restroom.
But he doesn't. He intercepts Morgan in the hallway.
This scene was so tense, he physically blocks her path. He reaches into her purse and pulls out a gun. A loaded gun.
This tells us two huge things. One, Morgan is terrified of something. You don't carry a loaded weapon in your purse to a dinner date in a small town unless you are afraid of something or someone specific.
And two,
Dillon is still a very dangerous man. He's not just a charming rogue. He unloads the gun, pockets the bullets, hands the empty weapon back to her, and demands to know if she set him up 4 years ago.
And she denies it, but the fear is just palpable on the page.
So it complicates everything. Is she afraid of Dillon finding out the truth? Or is she afraid of the real rustlers? Or is she maybe most afraid of her future father-in-law, Shade Waters?
It's completely ambiguous, but it proves she's not just a bystander in all this. She's a player in the game, and she knows more than she's saying.
Absolutely.
Now, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. We've hinted at it, but we have to talk about the romantic tension between Jack and Dillon.
It's humming under the surface of every single scene they're in together.
It really is. Things really heat up after that steakhouse confrontation.
It's the classic enemies to lovers setup, isn't it? But it feels grounded in a kind of shared trauma and respect. Jack implies she's lonely. The text mentions she had a brief, regrettable affair with the sheriff, Claude McCrae.
Which we'll get back to.
And Dillon is the one who got away for her, professionally speaking, until she finally caught him. So there's this grudging respect there. She knows how good he is, and he knows how good she is.
They walk back to the car under the stars. The adrenaline from the meeting and the confrontation with Morgan is starting to fade. The night is quiet, and they kiss.
And the text describes it as like earth-shattering, sparks, planets falling into line. It's not a tentative first kiss. It's a release of 4 years of pent-up conflict and attraction.
But of course, the universe immediately interrupts. They pull apart and see Jack's state-issued pickup truck has 4 slashed tires.
A petty, violent, and very pointed act of sabotage. And who is standing nearby, in the shadows, smoking a cigarette and watching them?
Sheriff Claude McRae.
The jealous ex.
The jealous ex. But this suggests he's potentially more than that.
Oh, much more. McRae isn't just a jilted lover here. We need to look at his actions throughout the story so far. He was at the Tom Robinson crime scene, and the text says he was basically destroying evidence-trampling potential tracks.
He's also the one who's been siding with Shadewaters at the town meeting, undermining Jack's authority.
Exactly. Slashed tires are a warning. It's an act of intimidation. It establishes McRae as a genuine antagonist, whether he's a full-blown criminal or just a corrupt obstacle trying to get Jack to fail.
It definitely kills the mood. But the investigation has to go on. And the next day, we get a major break in the case. Dillon decides to go rogue at the W Bar.
Right. Jack goes into the W Bar barn to interview a ranch hand, Pete Barclay, and she tells Dillon to stay in the truck, which, of course, he doesn't do.
He's not very good at following orders.
He takes a walk.
A walk that involves him hiding and hitching a ride in the back of a W Bar stock truck that's heading out.
And this leads us to the most gruesome and, frankly, the most confusing discovery of the entire book. Dillon is hiding in this truck, and he finds 6 dead calves.
And this is the detail that we need to really break down, because the forensics here are just bizarre. They weren't just dead. They were shot execution style between the eyes.
A clean shot. Professional.
And their ears were notched to remove any tags, and the patch of hide where a brand would be was physically cut out of their bodies.
This is Forensics 101 for cattle rustling, but completely reversed. Normally, you notch ears to remove tags, and you alter or cut out brands to hide ownership so you can sell the cow.
But you can't sell a dead calf. And you certainly can't sell a little patch of hide.
So why do it? Why go to all the trouble of stealing the calf, killing it, and then mutilating it? It makes no economic sense.
What's Dillon's theory?
Dillon's theory is that this isn't about profit at all. It's about psychological warfare, and more specifically, about framing him.
How would that work?
He thinks someone is stealing the neighbor's cattle, killing them, and then dumping their bodies on the old Savage ranch land, Dillon's family land, which is now part of the W Bar.
Wait, walk me through that.
Okay, so imagine the authorities get an anonymous tip. Hey, you should check out the old Savage place. They go there, they dig up a mass grave of dead, mutilated calves. The brands are cut out, which looks like a clumsy attempt by a rustler to hide the evidence.
And whose land are they on? The land that belonged to the most famous rustler in the state.
Exactly. It would look like Dillon is back to his old tricks, but this time he's panicking and killing the evidence, or maybe he's just killing them to hurt his old neighbors. It would send him back to prison for life, no questions asked.
It's the perfect frame-up.
It's a double cross.
Right.
But then we get the most shocking moment of the book so far, right after he finds the calves. Shadewaters catches him behind the barn.
And instead of shooting him or calling the cops, which is what you expect,
Shade makes him an offer, a bribe.
this moment reveals everything about Shade's true character, doesn't it?
It really does. He offers to give Dillon his family ranch back, the Savage land, the legacy that Dillon has mourned for years. He offers to just hand it back to him on a silver platter.
That is a life-changing offer for Dillon. What's the catch?
The catch, the condition, is that Dillon has to take Morgan Landers away from Nate.
Take her off my hand.
Just get her out of the family. Think about the sheer desperation there.
Yeah.
Shadewaters, this proud, controlling, powerful man, is willing to give up a massive chunk of his empire land he probably ruined Dillon's father to get, just to stop his son from marrying this one woman.
He calls it a business deal.
They business deal. It tells us that Shade is absolutely terrified of Morgan, or maybe he just despises her that much. But it also tells us something very important about the wrestling ring, doesn't it?
What's that?
If Shade's primary focus is on this domestic drama, if he's willing to give away his enemy's birthright just to solve a marriage problem, it strongly suggests he might not be the mastermind behind the wrestling.
Because his attention is elsewhere.
Right. If he was running a sophisticated, violent criminal ring, he wouldn't need to bribe Dillon. He'd just have him killed and be done with it. The bribe implies a strange kind of weakness, or at least a different set of priorities.
And Dillon's reaction to the offer.
He almost chokes the guy. He completely snaps.
He does. He grabs Shade by the throat. Because it's so profoundly insulting. It reduces his entire family's tragedy to a bargaining chip for Shade's petty domestic problems.
But Jack intervenes just in time. She doesn't yell. She doesn't draw her weapon.
She just says his name. Dillon. Just calm. Dillon. And he lets go.
And that tiny moment shows the incredible control she now has over him and his surprising willingness to listen to her. He trusts her judgment, even when he's incandescent with rage.
So if it's not Shade, who is it? The text then starts to reintroduce Dillon's old crew, the usual suspects.
The red herrings. And there are a lot of them.
First, we have Arlen Dubois, who's described as kind of simple-minded, always wearing these lucky boots. He was working for the victim, Tom Robinson.
And then, conveniently, after Tom is in a coma, Shade offers him a job at the W Bar, which is suspicious.
Very. Then we have Buford Cole, who was working at the stockyard and seems to be a bit of a gossip.
And we have Pete Barclay, who works for Shade. And all of them are back in town at the same time.
And they are all acting incredibly sketchy.
In their own ways, yeah. Arlen lies about the lucky coin. He turns pale when he sees it, but claims he knows nothing. Pete Barclay blatantly lies to Jack, telling her he saw glints of binoculars in the hills to send her on a wild goose chase to keep her away from the north end of the ranch.
And Buford is whispering in Jack's ear that Dillon is only out for vengeance, trying to sow distrust between them.
It feels like a coordinated effort, like a conspiracy to mislead and obstruct the investigation at every turn.
And then there is Rita Harper. I love Rita.
Rita's great.
She's the neighbor who hates Shade Waters even more than Dillon does. She's tough, she carries a shotgun, she takes no nonsense.
And she is a crucial, unimpeachable witness. She sees a mysterious stock truck on a disused W Bar road late at night. She sees lights where there shouldn't be any. She goes to investigate, and she gets chased by a figure on foot.
She saw them.
She saw something, but here's the kicker. When she goes to the town meeting to report what she saw, she sees Shade and Sheriff McCrae conspiring in a corner, whispering, and McCrae basically silences her.
So she keeps her mouth shut. She realizes she can't trust the law.
Exactly. It just reinforces that the established institutions, the sheriff's office, the wealthy landowners, are not to be trusted. The only people Jack can truly rely on are Rita, this cantankerous old rancher, and Dillon, the master criminal.
It's a hell of a team. So everyone is lying. The sheriff is corrupt. The rancher's trying to bribe people. The old gang is acting weird. Jack and Dillon are running out of time.
And they realized that Pete Barclay's lie was significant. He lied about the location of that spotter specifically to keep them away from the north end of the ranch.
The north end of the ranch is where the old Savage place is.
Which where Dillon suspects the dead calves are being buried for the frame-up. All the pieces start to click into place.
So they have to go there. But they can't just drive through the front gate of the W Bar.
No way. Shade would stop them. The sheriff would find a reason to stop them. So they decide to go the hard way.
Into the Badlands.
And this is where the Western element of the story really kicks in. This isn't a procedural anymore. It's a full-on expedition.
They load up horses. They pack provisions, sleeping bags, rifles. They lie to Jack's boss, Stratton, telling him they are going to the Milk River to follow a different lead. They are officially going rogue.
It's a classic into the sunset moment, but it's filled with dread, not romance. The Badlands are treacherous. No cell service, broken terrain, box canyons you can get trapped in. And they know they are probably riding into a trap.
And right before they ride out, Dillon makes a bet.
A dance.
A dance. He bets Jack a dance that he is right about the frame-up.
It's such a small human moment in the middle of all this danger and tension. If I'm right about all this, you owe me a dance. It's his way of saying he believes in a future where they can just dance.
So we leave them there, riding into the Badlands, completely isolated, with a target on their backs.
It's the perfect setup for a climax. We have a critical victim in a coma who might wake up at any moment. We have a sheriff who is acting more like a criminal than a lawman. We have a powerful rancher trying to bribe his worst enemy.
And we have a rustling ring that, for some reason, destroys the valuable cattle rather than selling them, which is still the most baffling part of the whole thing.
And the big question, the one that hangs over everything, remains, who is actually running the ring? Is it Shade, trying to destroy his neighbors in the most convoluted way possible? Is it the ghost of Halsey Waters back from the grave for revenge?
Or is it Dillon Savage?
That's the thought that lingers, isn't it? Dillon is a psychologist, he's an engineer, he's a genius. Is he really helping Jack? Or is he psychologically dismantling his enemies one by one, using the power and resources of the law as his personal weapon?
Is he framing them by making it look like they're framing him?
It's 4D chess with cows.
It really is. And that's the beauty of Big Sky Standoff. It keeps you guessing until the very, very end.
It's a masterclass in suspense.
Well, I don't know about you, but I absolutely need to know how this ends. I highly encourage you to pick up the book to see who survives that ride into the Badlands.
And if they ever get that dance.
Exactly. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Stay curious, stay safe, and maybe watch out for unbranded caps.
See you next time.